Welcome back to the Eric Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy start to this Thursday. It's Thursday. It's Thursday. Holy moly, man. This week's just flying on by. It's an absolute surprise to me, actually. But I guess all weeks are flying on by. Anyways, I wanted to follow up on the yesterday's short-term time frame analysis. We were looking at first a likely move to the bottom side of the range, somewhere around 26.5. Fill that good old CME gap all for the gapologist over there, and then bounce from it, of which we've seen about just over $1,000 bounce from that region on the current high. Anyways, I also want to discuss a couple of new setups as well. And other than that, we're making a bit of a push. We're making a bit of a push right now. And so I would humbly request that if you do find this content valuable, please do consider hitting the bell icon so it'll actually notify you when new videos go live. Anyways, yes, of course, we also still have the buyback promotion going on, 0% on maker fees, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. And then also Apex 5% off lifetime. If you're looking for a decentralized exchange, maybe you might be dealing with that KYC stuff. All right. Anyways, that's stuff for you to decide. Let's just get into it right on over here. First things first, yesterday, again, we were looking at a likely move to the bottom side of the range, somewhere around the bottom side of 26.5, 26.6 region. Looks like Bitcoin did indeed get that, filled the CME gap at the same time, as you can see right here, and then a nice bounce kind of emerging from that region. But going back into the spot Bitcoin chart, the 4-hour time frame actually gets things rather well in this case. And I would go as far to say that, hey, look, as long as Bitcoin is above that last low, or which is essentially the bottom side of the current range, at about it moved up a little bit here. Let's call it 26.8. I'll round up in this case. Bounces in progress, and well, this would be the Bulaw's chance actually. That also does imply that Bitcoin closing back down below that region, namely 26,800, again on a closing basis. That would be a pretty damn good indication that this is another failed rally and very likely getting ready for lower price. And when I say lower price, I mean below 26,000 bucks again, probably retest the low of this week if indeed that does happen. But for right now, this again is kind of where I'd say, hey, Bulaws have their chance. Yesterday was a bear all day. Today is, today would be a great day for the Bulaws to try to prove themselves. Anyways, yeah, so we've gone through that. Let's now go through stochastic momentum to see kind of where the pivots are at right now. Has anything actually changed? Daily time frame did indeed cross the upside, as yesterday did close above 27,000 bucks. The current daily momentum pivot now is 26,350. So if Bitcoin does, assumingly close back or just remain above 26.8, obviously daily momentum will remain to the upside. 12-hour time frame is also going to be showing upside momentum as long as Bitcoin's above, guess where? 26.8. So that number is probably going to pop up a few more times. 6-hour time frame showing actually 27,300 as a current momentum pivot. So short term, does it play a bit of ebb and flow? Does it try to consolidate here? Probably yes. So a bit of short term sideways. 4-hour time frame is also vertical back above 26.6, and hourly time frame is probably down if I had to guess. Yeah, it is down right now below 27,450. So we're not really seeing like any major confluence between these different time frames. What does that essentially mean? It essentially means probably looking at a bit of sideways price action, but do keep in mind below 26.8, that's where things start to change yet again, or go back in favor of the bears right now. Until then, short-term sideways is good for the Bulaws, as you can see. Anyways, moving on into it, I should also discuss over here that the 4-hour time frame on CME is showing a bit of potential hidden bearish divergence as well. I don't think that this is like a super demeaning drive right there, and you could actually even argue that it's already played out, but it would initiate another leg, again, back down below about 26.8. If that happens, we're very likely going to see another retest, of yesterday's low and probably lower, just personal opinion. But what I wanted to talk about that was slightly new over here was the weekly time frame, or at least it's not that it's new, it's just I haven't spoken about it on this channel yet. And it is this, when we're looking at the weekly, I think it's quite obvious that 26.5 is a major pivot on price action. Whether you're looking at spot price action or whether you're looking at CME, it's more or less the same in this case. And that's essentially where the 200-cent moving average, the 55 exponential moving average, and seemingly the 21 exponential moving average are all starting to kind of coalesce. So that does imply that it's a major pivot on overall price, meaning that if Bitcoin does lose it, that's to the point when, we're very likely to be looking at much deeper retracements, well below 25,000 bucks. I think Bitcoin could even gun for like 21 to 22,000 bucks if that were to happen. But as long as Bitcoin's above it, that is naturally good for the Bulaws, obviously, because the longer that Bitcoin's above it, the more and more that they get pulled into a bullish posturing. And well, that would be the impetus for the next continuation of this rally, back on to prior highs. highs of this rally, obviously, and so on and so forth from there. But again, it all kind of hinges upon that 26.5 region on a higher term time frame closing basis. So as long as Bitcoin's above there, again, still kind of favorite, the boo laws will be favored in the short term. Below there, that's where things really start to change around. It's, it's more or less the same thing as what we looked at on the Gaussian channel over here. It's showing a little bit lower in this case, but, I do believe that you could be more aggressive for what it's worth in kind of defining a major breakdown. Anyways, what I wanted to go over now, however, is some completely new, and it's not necessarily completely new, but one of them is completely new. That is going to be the 5-day time frame. So when we're looking at the 5-day time frame over here, there is a stochastic there is a volatility versus stochastic momentum setup in our very, very midst right now. In fact, shout out to Mr. Ali. He pointed this one out yesterday to me. It's like, no, it's on my radar. Yes. It's not fully matured here. But as you can see, 5-day BBWP, again, this is a measurement of volatility, is at extreme lows. In fact, it's literally at about just above 1 percentile right now. So this is the lowest level that we've seen basically since the January rally. I'll just kind of quickly show you what happened in that time frame. That was the beginning of about a 38% rally. Again, volatility, of course, is direction neutral, and we can use the stochastic also to get a bias on direction. But, just talking about the severity of the move, we're looking at something relatively significant. In fact, if we were to go ahead and backtest all of them, the average move has been around about 40% over the course of about a month, just over a month, basically, with a standard deviation of about 7% in those results. Anyways, the reason why I bring it up right now is because the stochastic also just had a high correlation with the direction of volatility expansion, and right now it's actually pointed to the downside, and will be remaining with downside pressure as long as Bitcoin's below 29,300 or so on a closing basis. Next closure coming in about 2 days from now. So what does it essentially mean? It does mean, again, the longer the Bitcoin goes sideways here, the better for boot loss, because it will allow it to reset. And naturally, when this does expand, which usually when you see a read like this, it's probably going to take some time. It's probably not going to be one of these like January 1st expansions like we saw over here, which is kind of like a quick touch and go. It's probably going to like hang down here for a while, but it's time to start to get prepared for that and just be aware of where that pivot is, because as long as Bitcoin's below it, well, statistically speaking, breakdown more likely, but the more that Bitcoin could trade sideways here, it's the same thing as what we saw in the daily stochastic momentum kind of reset over here. It's like it just allows it to reset. Obviously, it's kind of like pedaling, but you ain't going anywhere. And of course, this is in addition to the 2-day time frame setup, which this one's been quite annoying. Honestly, it's been quite annoying. And the reason why I say that is because we don't really seem to have, or we have, like, it keeps on teetering on the on the edge of expansion. And so this one, also a rather powerful setup in the case, in the context of statistics. This one has led to an average move of about 27% over the course of about 19 days. And the stochastic also has been correcting in either direction of the volatility expansion about 81.5% of the time. But for right now, it is actually going to have a chance to cross the upside. So do we see the 2-day time frame then lead into the 5-day time frame? Very possible. And by the way, this one is closing tonight. It's closing tonight at 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern time. I forget what daylight savings time means, but ultimately, if Bitcoin closes above 27,100, that will cross the upside, and it'll be kind of like vice versa what we just spoke about on the 5-day over here, in the sense that, hey, now it favors the boo laws again. Like, it's traded sideways enough within this region without breaking down, without seeing true volatility expansion, that kind of have to, or it's not kind of have to, it's just the statistics would start to favor the boo laws again. And I won't go into like the weeds on this one. We'll do that when it becomes more and more relevant. But, 27%, if it does play out to the upside, where would that put Bitcoin? That would put Bitcoin on new highs on this rally, somewhere around $34,000. Probably between about 34 to 35, if I had to guess, which, by the way, is one of the major CME gaps coming in from about a little over a year ago from this region over here. The May breakdown, I believe it was. Yeah, it was the May breakdown right here, about $35,000. So that would be of interest in this case. So tonight's a pretty damn big closure here. Again, if this pivot is met and we still see that volatility expansion is kind of like still teetering on the edge of of expansion, that would be a damn good indication that Bitcoin very likely does pop back up, plays out the other setups that we're looking at, which we'll go over right now on the 12-hour time frame, and first, hits somewhere around like upper 28s, and then probably coalesces again for a bit of a consolidation, and then leads on to continuation towards I suppose mid 30s would be the next sort of reasonable area, at least based off these statistics, to be kind of looking for. But in this case, the 12-hour time frame is still very much valid and viable over here. I mean, it's the same thing as what we said before, basically. But I'll first explain it. It's a 12-hour Jewel Light setup where basically we want to see the 12-hour Jewel Light go below the 40 read, turn white on the first tick alongside PMARP being below 50. That particular setup has led to, over the past 46 tested iterations, over the past few years here, a 76% or just over 76% probability of a nice bounce over the course of an average of 23 bars. 23 bars is 11 and a half days on a 12-hour time frame, obviously, and this fired off on the 12th of May. That was last Friday, basically. So that would bring us into still like looking at the end of this week / early next week, or I guess like literally the end of this week, like the weekend, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday region. And so far, so good. It's still in the cards. Invalidation on this one, meaning that it is a failure, would be with a closure back down below, again, about 26,300, 26,400. In fact, I'd even say that you could use yesterday's low as probably an invalidation point now. 26.5, even on like a tick basis, would not look too damn good. But assuming that doesn't happen, again, still more likely to bounce from here. So we're starting to see the 12-hour time frame maybe bleed into the 2-day time frame, which again maybe bleed into the 5-day time frame, further on down the road. So you're starting to see, the operation of effects like the dominoes, right? And they're starting. And again, the more that Bitcoin goes sideways here, the more that they're naturally going to start to paint a more probabilistic bullish picture. With a major hinging point at like 26.5. But again, the average winning trade for this particular setup was about 8%. So that would, from the entry, be somewhere around like upper 28s, very, very close to 29 actually. Then obviously that would lead into the 2-day time frame setup, and then potentially the 5-day time frame setup a little bit later on down the road. But yeah, I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off on this particular video. Forgot to go over the short-term ranges. In this case, I think the 12-hour gets it pretty damn well here, but back above 27.7, or even just back above yesterday's high, or was this yesterday's high? This was Monday's high. Going to be good enough for Bitcoin to probably play out that 12-hour setup and set up a move somewhere to like the mid to upper 28s. So, range lows right here, range, I would say like the short-term range highs right here. And, you can see, again, those dominoes of effects. So I'll leave it right there. I think that's a good place for me to be leaving off. We spoke about the Bybit show. We spoke about the liking and subscribing, or did we? I don't know, but the bell icon, whatever the fuck. And I think that's a good place to be leaving off on this one. I forgot one last thing. Okay, one last thing. I did just want to point out that NASDAQ futures continue to make new highs. As we were looking for coming into this week. And I mean, that's like a pretty significant one right there, actually, on this rally. So, again, it's like, do you expect Bitcoin to kind of follow in the footsteps of NAS? Probably yes, at least traditionally speaking. They are more correlated on the higher term timeframes than not necessarily like a step-by-step basis, but over the long-term trends, yes. I think that would also kind of bode well for the Bitcoin Bula picture. So I'll leave it right there. Wish you the best as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.